once you had that definition of the micro-credential, what was the next step?
So in many respects, we're still working on that next step.
Okay.
And there are a lot of analogies that are used around micro-credentials or metaphors. You could say we're building the plane where we're still in the air. Great comment came through from a Canadian last week, I think it was, or the week before, that micro-credentials are a bit like catnip for politicians or for perhaps university vice-chancellors or presidents. I mentioned at the start that all roads are leading to micro-credentials, but there are a fair few back roads, and some of them were broken bridges that don't connect. So right now we have a framework, shall we say, of a roadmap. What we're trying to do at the country level, at the state level, is align that into the European roadmap. And put more flesh or detail, or should we say, turn the back road into something that ultimately might become more like a highway, and we're all on the same road. So I think it's very much the case that this is it's a cliche, but it's a work in progress. And I think we are still at a very early stage. It's quite notable that only 2 weeks ago, probably even less than that, 10 days ago, the European Commission has issued a public consultation process on micro-credentials. So I think this is very encouraging, because as a policymaker, if you want a policy to be effective, if you want a policy to be owned and understood, consultation with a big C is crucial. And whilst in the European context, sometimes that can grind things down and slow things down, ultimately, if the end goal is that we want micro-credentials to be highly credible, to have currency like a degree does, to be recognized by employers, to be valued by employees, then all of this, I think, is crucial work. And in Europe, the Bologna process, which is essentially very influential in many parts of the world, including down under, because it's the process that provides mobility across qualifications, recognition of what credit value is. The aim is to have micro-credentials fit into the European qualification framework, and that in turn would align, or other countries will align with that. It's just so influential. But there are also lots of things going on, if I use the roadmap example, at the country levels, and Ireland is leading the way in many respects as well. Finland is doing quite a lot of work. And one of the challenges, because of course, not English speaking by first language, Italy has a huge investment in various initiatives in micro-credentialing. But here in Ireland, our government, through a digital transformation fund for teaching and learning for universities, has funded €12 million for the 7 Irish universities to work on a national micro-credential platform. So a small country like Ireland, similar to New Zealand in many ways, if you can't do it in a very small country with coherence, then I suspect it would be pretty hard elsewhere. So you have those different initiatives going on at the same time. But in micro-credentials, we must not lose sight of industry initiatives. And MOOCs are a little bit of the middleware in many respects, because the evolution of the MOOC, what we're seeing is MOOCs and micro-credentials now becoming almost synonymous. And in particular, the MOOC platforms are reaching out and partnering with industry providers and universities in some cases, but not always. Some of them are industry-led. And what I often argue here in Europe is, if all we do is take the macro-credential and turn it into a micro, and there's a question is how small is small, we will have lost an opportunity to have fundamentally transformed, I'll use that word, our credentialing landscape or ecology. And what I mean by that is, we need to reach out and have more of our stakeholders, not just industry, but also community groups. There's a great example in Canada just recently of a micro-credential in well-being and workplace well-being in partnership with the university, but that's coming out of a community organization. I'll stop on that note. There are just many things going on, and you might want to expand or ask me to elaborate on any one of those.